Hi, this is Joe Ebanks, and I'm just letting you all know that the Joe Ebanks Show is for paid programming. I accept all liability from the show. My guests will accept theirs and all callers, and I am not affiliated in any way with the Paramount Group of companies, its managers or employees. Hello, K-Man, and welcome back to another Joe Ebanks radio show. And first of all, I want to be able to respond to my opponent, Ezard Miller, and his comments on his radio show this morning. He spoke about not coming to the debate because, I'm a criminal. He doesn't want to cause any harm to his integrity. You know what, Ezard? I did not try to sell 800 work permits for Cubans to the Ritz-Carlton. I didn't try to bring 800 Cubans into this country. You and your buddy did on that email that you all were talking about 15% of annual salary. So let me just play something back for you. I'm going to just ask my producer to just play a little clip.
We just keep giving ground. This could not have happened in this country 20 years ago.
Oh, no.
But the churches seem to have lost their moral high ground in preaching about these things.
And that's the little clip where from Mr. Miller's show this morning where he questions the morality of the churches. And I'll tell you what, folks. The churches and the government's donation to the churches have been entering this political debate negatively for far too long. Let me make my position clear on this. One, no one knows how much and how many people the churches are feeding in this country on a daily basis. Do you know why they need a government subsidy? Because people like Mr. Miller didn't do his job as an elected member and ensure that people had jobs so they wouldn't need the charity of the church. The churches cannot talk about this publicly. Let me tell you why. Now, I want to draw your attention and I want to take you to the Bible, okay? Because we have to understand the role of the church with spirituality and keep it out of politics in this game. The churches we must respect. The churches do something that I as a politician or any other politician will never be able to do. The churches and the preachers in this country do have the most important job. While our role is to get you jobs, to keep a stable economy, to keep a stable country. The role of the church and the preachers in this country is to save your soul for eternity. So let's just go to Matthew 6:1. Here is why the churches cannot talk publicly and repeat over and over what they're using these funds for and how many people they're feeding on a daily basis. And I'm going to start by reading Matthew 1. Matthew 6, verse 1. Take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them. Otherwise, ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth, that thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father, which seeth in secret himself, shall reward thee openly. Folks, the churches have to follow the words of Jesus Christ if they are to be truly a church and spiritually and connected to God. The Son of God spoke this in Matthew 6:1-4. The churches cannot be demonized in this political election. We cannot have politicians speaking and dragging the churches and religion into this debate in such a negative manner. If they did their jobs, they would not have to budget large amounts to help the churches feed the poor. We would not have poor. If we fought corruption to the bitter end, we would not have this kind of poverty. Now, I want you all to listen to another reading that I have for you because it's important that you get this one as well. And this one is from Chronicles. And this one that I'm going to read to you, this is for all you people out there, whether you're a Christian or or whatever your religion is, or whether you're a non-believer. Even to Wendell Ledger, who she and I have had our fair problems, and it started because she made a statement to me that Caymanian people are stupid because they believe in Jesus Christ, because she's an atheist and she doesn't believe, so therefore we're stupid. And I'll tell you what, folks, you know me by now. You know I'll get riled up about those kinds of things. So this one is even for her. And one day I should have invited her to church, and maybe in there God would have reached down and Jesus Christ would have touched her and she would have had a better person today as well. But let me read this, because folks, if we're going to end corruption, here is what your role is as we go and take this journey and continue this journey. And this is from 2 Chronicles 7:14. And you people, I want you all to just repeat this after me, because I'm going to be reading this directly from the King James Bible and as it's written in the King James Version. Okay? If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. If we want to end corruption in this country, we have to take this journey believing and praying and humbling ourselves to get rid of the few who choose to suppress and cause poverty on the masses. So I'm going to read this again, because this is the verse that goes with the fight against corruption. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. It is time for us, folks, to humble ourselves and to take a look at this country, and we need to go back to our spiritual and religious ways. This is a Christian country. That's what it is. And we are not anti any other religion. What we cannot have is people who would put down our own. Okay? That is not something where a visitor can come into this country and call us stupid because we have certain beliefs. No more than it is in a right of mine or anyone else to call a Muslim stupid because they're not. That's their chosen religion. And I support that. As long as people have a religion and believe in something other than a doorknob, listen, you have to believe that there's something greater than you. Now I want to have my producer play a second clip that Mr. Miller's show this morning that I'm going to talk about.
On the show tonight, that I'm a coward and I'm scared to come and debate this brilliant man that got his 3, 4, or 5 degrees, what they got from that little one-room place down in Newlands that you drive past, and you might even notice it when you pass.
Well, I think it goes beyond that for sure. You know, that is a place that has produced many of our brilliant scholars.
Now, folks, you know, I'm not even sure if I should respond to that, because that's classic Ezra Miller. You know, everybody is stupid. Everything is stupid besides him. Okay? Anything anyone has, he belittles. But I just want you all to know something. One, the number 3 business school in the world, and this school is Wharton, and it rotates annually between number 3 and number 1 business school in the world. That school began in an airplane hangar, and today it doesn't leave the top 10. It hasn't left the top 10, I think, in the last 20 years as the number 1 business schools and the business school rankings around the world. So, to all the students, past and present, of ICCI, I can tell you that I am a proud alumni of that university, that I am an assistant professor of that university, of that college, and I am very, very proud of that. I can produce my 3 certificates, my bachelor's degree in international finance, I can produce my MBA, and I can produce my master's in science that I obtained there. And I worked very hard for those. And the books that we use there are the same books that are used in all the other universities. And for us, the people of the poor who can't always afford to get off island and get scholarships, we fall some in the middle. We got an opportunity to get an education, and thank God for Roy Borden, who recognized the school when he became Minister of Education, that we can be recognized in this country. Clearly, Mr. Miller doesn't think so. Clearly, if he had the opportunity to, it sounds like he would treat it the way he just described it. And you know, Mr. Miller, you said you're going to be called a coward. No, you call yourself a coward. Here's the thing. Seeing as how you think I'm a criminal, seeing as how you don't think I'm very intelligent, seeing as how you don't think I belong being elected, even being a candidate, why don't you show up tonight? I'm inviting you to show up. If you like, I'll pick you up and drive you to the debate. You know why? Because the country wants to hear you show them and demonstrate your intelligence. And when you come in, bring that pharmacist degree certificate. I'll bring my 3. You bring that one. You bring it, lay it on the table. I'll lay my 3 on the table. Your problem with the ICCI is not that it produces brilliant students. As Gilbert said, smart people, great alumni. I have students, past students from that university who are now executive members in organizations in this country. So they have excelled and done very well. And they're still doing very well. And they're leading in this country in the private sector. You came here with a big lie about being a pharmacist and being qualified. And Truman Borden, when he checked and wanted to establish new standards within qualifications, made it clear that you were not qualified and you could not continue to work at the government hospital dispensing drugs because you were not qualified. You left there and you went to the cinema where Benson Ebanks gave you a job as manager. And you managed the cinema until you ran with his team and won a seat in Northside that I helped get you elected for. Me and my friend Derek Westerberg Frederick in our little key club, because we couldn't vote at the age of 14 or 15, whatever we were, we begged our parents to vote for you. So, mister, why don't you show up to the Civic Center tonight, stop being a crybaby, come and face me like a man, demonstrate your leadership qualities. If you do not show up, you are clearly saying that you do not deserve any votes, and you're clearly saying that you are afraid and you are a coward. You're a coward and you're afraid to face me. Okay? You've belittled the church. You've belittled the ICCI school, and you're a student, past and present and future, who goes there, and you're afraid to show up and face me in some questions. Here's what else I'm willing to do for you, Mr. Miller. I will ask Will Panu to give you the questions in advance so you can do a little research and some studying. And I'll ask him not to show me because I haven't seen any of them yet. So I'll say to him, make sure I don't see them. Give them to Ezard so he can prepare. And that way, you might be able to muster a little bit of courage and get some backbone and come and face me like a man. Don't weasel out. Don't run and cry like a baby, Ezard. Come and face me like a man. Meet me tonight, 7 o'clock, Civic Center, chamber debate. Let's put this on the air. Let's show the people who knows what's best for Northside and this country tonight. Don't run away like a boy. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're going to have our 2 guests come in. I've invited 2 guests to come on the show, ask me questions. I've been accused of not having solutions. So I said to these two ladies, asked them if they would come on. They could interview me. We'll switch roles. I'll be the guest on their show. They get to ask me questions. And once again, I have not seen their questions. So we're going to take a break. They're out in the lobby waiting. I'm going to bring them back. And when we come back, we're going to go to the coverage of this, what we promised. What we promised was I'd be interviewed tonight. And producer, can we just go to a commercial break? I'll see you all right back. Don't change the dial now.
Now back to more Joey Ebanks Show on Vibe 98.9 FM.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here at Vibe 98.9. We weren't taking calls, but we had a caller call earlier. I think they're going to call back. He's back. No, he's going to call back, and when he calls back, we'll certainly go to him. But I have in the studio 2 ladies that I invited in. We had a little discussion. We were supposed to have another guest today, but due to some... Oh, we have a call on the line? Let's go straight to the phone line. Hi, caller, you're on there?
Good afternoon, Joey.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for your call.
Just let me turn the radio down.
Okay.
I want to say good afternoon to you and your guest.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I want to tell you something, man. It takes a man like you with guts to stand up for your rights.
Thank you very much, sir.
And what I heard Ezra Miller saying this morning about you and your place for representative of the Cayman Islands, no matter what district, that was a disgrace to the Cayman Islands. They should kick him out.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Capital K. And don't you make the police, the governor, no one frighten you. When you're right, stand up for it and show them face to face.
I will, sir. Thank you very much for your call. Thank you.
That's why they don't frighten me. Have a good evening.
All right. Yeah, I'm not afraid either. Thank you very much for your call, sir.
All right, bye.
Okay. So, I didn't know we were getting through to the Brock. That's number one from the Brock that used to call all the radio shows, and he's very, very popular, very well known. And I certainly appreciate that call. But we have two ladies in the studio. I've asked both of them to prepare questions for me. I haven't seen the questions. I don't know what they're going to ask. And I wanted to be sure that it came across natural. If I don't know the answer, I want to let people know I don't know the answer. I need to go and do some research. Certainly, I had to do that on agriculture the other day. And I enjoy that research, and I understand it now. So I want to, let me just let them introduce themselves, because I want to get as many of these questions in as we can. Juliet, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm Juliet. I am a K-Bajan. And so thanks for giving us the opportunity to interrogate you like you do everybody else.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Patrice. I'm a K-Jamaican. And I welcome the opportunity to question you, to grill you, to give you a chance to really be on the spot and to be honest and truthful, and that's what we're expecting today.
Absolutely. And I think we should set some rules, certainly. You can rotate the questions between the two of you. Mm-hmm. I believe that what should be done is once I give a response, that you should be allowed a little follow-up question, and then we move to the next person with another question. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. So we can start. Let's go.
Well, Patrice and I kind of had a conversation, so I decided that I'm going to start because I want to start on the personal with you.
Okay.
You are always saying nothing is off the table, and just give it to you straight, so we're going to give it to you straight. Now, some of us read your Facebook postings all the time, and we see all the things that you're saying. So my first question to you is that people say you're either crazy or you're on drugs or something like that. How do you respond to those kind of things?
Well, I tell you, the crazy part is understandable because, I've taken on some of the most powerful people in this country. I've gone after corruption at the very top. So normal people would say, hey, man, you wouldn't do that. You'll never get a job again. That's crazy. The drugs part, well, that's been around me for a very long time. And when I was, prior to me being arrested, even after my suspension, I drank a considerable amount of rum. In fact, I consumed a bottle of Appleton VX a day. Okay? So I drank every single day, 7 days a week. And when I got bail and I got a chance to tell my family and my lawyer everything I knew, I was still angry. And I unloaded all the corruption and produced my evidence to them. And I was ranting, and what I was doing is confessing. Mm-hmm. So I got it all out. 15 years of sitting in rooms and knowing what people did and what was wrong and never ever speaking out about it. At the end of that, I don't know what it was. I heard this voice in my ear that said, don't be afraid. And that's where I'm not afraid came from. I have since met with counselors, I've met with other professionals, and I've asked what's going on with me. And just about every single one has said, you've had a spiritual awakening. It happens. Because I haven't had a drink. I don't even think about it. Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm working on stopping or working a 12-step program. I just don't think about it. So it's gone. And I've asked the questions, is it because I'm so focused on another fight? And they said, no, it happens. This happens. And you need to know that once you keep yourself spiritual, and these are not ministers of faith I'm talking to here. Right? Mm-hmm. These are counselors and guys, academia. And they're saying, look, once you maintain this spiritual connection, it'll always stay away. Once you go back down the road of corruption, once you start hiding and hoarding things because you just can't handle it, you're going to go back down that road. You needed to to take something to numb the pain and the issues that you had. You've let it all out, and now there's nothing left for you to medicate. So I became a different person, and my wife, my children, everybody recognizes it. And this is a new Joey. Supporters recognize it. I mean, I get calls that you're not the Joey we knew from last time. I've said that. I'm not. I'm a different guy. I got suspended and arrested for refusing to take $500,000. Look, that shouldn't make anyone angry. And I'm here, and I'm going to finish this fight. And I don't care what people think about me, because as long as I'm in this fight, people are going to say negative things about me. Not everyone's going to like me. We're in a small society, and some of the people I'm talking about and fighting against are related or friends of people here. So that's going to happen.
Well, my follow-up question to that, and you kind of touched on that a little bit. You have a family, you have a wife, and you have children. And for me, as a female, as a woman, my concern obviously is for the wife and the children. And the thing is, you're saying all these things in a public forum. Like I started off with a question, people think you're crazy, people think you're on drugs and so on. But it obviously has to have an impact on your family. So how is your family coping? And do you think there comes a point when you must say, as much as I love my country and as much as I don't want to see corruption, there's a time when family must come before country?
No, I actually had a conversation with my wife when I began this journey. And I told her I would understand if she divorced me. I told her, this is the journey I'm going on. This is what's going to occur. And it's going to be a very, very hard road. And I understood if you left. I did. My oldest daughter was of course, skeptical at the beginning and not wanting to go through this kind of pain and public attacks anymore. And my oldest son was in my corner from day one. His point was, look, Dad, let's go get him. And my two youngest, well, they're in and out of conversations, right? They're not connecting all the dots yet. But my oldest daughter has since made it clear, look, I stand with you. I'm stronger now. You're fighting a great fight, and I'm here with you. My wife is doing precisely what she should do. She cautions me about going too far. Whenever I go too far, she gets angry, and she says, you went too far. You shouldn't say that about that person. She's always been cautioning me, very conservative, because we're opposites. You know, she doesn't like the public eye. She doesn't like this road. She wants, here's what she says. I don't know, 3-4 times a week. I just want to have my husband for a little bit before it's all over. Can I get a month? Because I've been at this for so long now and absent for so long from her that, it's something. But I can't put my family before country and expect to leave a country for my children and grandchildren. I have to fight for the country first. And in doing so, I'm a better father and I'm a better husband.
Excellent. No, I'm going to leave that question alone. I think you've... Sorry? All right, well, then I'm going to defer to my co-host because she had a number of questions on the personal realm, and I'm going to leave her with those because I've got some other tough questions for you.
Well, no, I just wanted to say, that's it for my personal, because those were my two questions in terms of all that you're saying, all you're doing, and the concern. And I am thinking that you're talking about being on a spiritual plane now in this sense. So maybe this experience you had to go through to arrive at the point that you're at now.
As Eminem says.
There you go. Okay, so now we can move on from that, and we're going to start with the other tough questions.
Okay.
In one of your notes, it says, to the young people of Cayman, I say this. And I'm going to start with a statement, and I want you to finish it. This statement, this note was written from 2010, so I want you to expand on where your thoughts are, if they've changed, and why. The major fortune today is knowledge. The more we discover, the more we find is needed to be discovered. As the world enters a new era, a new world order must bring order to that chaos. We can teach you little, as everything we know is over.
Yeah, I wrote that in 2010 and posted it on Facebook. And, it was during the height of the Wall Street protests. the ending of empires throughout the world, and sitting back and watching the world recession, and feeling so bad as a 40-something-year-old, knowing that my generation had it all. We had it all. We had everything in our hands. The generation before us gave us everything. I mean, there was nothing. We had an overabundance. And here we are about to pass the mantle. And there's nothing. There was so much gluttony that we're leaving nothing for the next generation. And therefore, I'm saying to them, you need to teach yourself now. Because we have done so much wrong that we can't teach you very much. Don't learn from us because we made so many mistakes. But we need to tell you what those mistakes were, and we need to be open and honest with you. And I say as well to my students that I owe them an apology. I owe them an apology for not fighting harder to protect this country, for not fighting more to give to them what we got from the generation before us. Seamen left here at 15 and 16 and 17 and went out into the world when there was no television. They didn't know where they were going. And they sent money home. And they helped to build us. And here we are with the next generation about to emerge from college and universities and coming into a land and in a world filled with recession and having to start again. So we had 50 years of it. We're at crossroads and we need to rebuild. My generation, we cannot dictate the next 50 and the path. The youngsters, the youth must join us at our side and help us write this new script. So they need to be educated, they need to fill themselves with knowledge, and they need to come and join us at the table. And they need to say, here's a new path we want to. And I have committed to running for 2 terms only. And I've committed that in my first month identifying my successors and helping to groom them. Because I don't want to do this forever and a day. I just want to make sure that I can die peacefully. I was born in controversy. I have lived a life of controversy. And I don't want to die in controversy. I want to die peacefully. And I have an obligation as a man and a citizen to ensure that the next generation is ready and can have a say in where we go from here.
Well, great. My follow-up then is, what advice would you give to our voters who are considering the wide field of young independents that are now in the political realm? And the argument is being made that they're young, they're inexperienced, they're not ready for government, they're not ready for that stance, and you need to vote. You need to vote with your party. You need to vote with the persons who are already in place and doing what they can, or doing their job. So, what would you say to the voters?
Well, one of the things I would say to the voters is, do not let the Joey Ebanks radio show be so distracting that you don't listen to the other voters. Okay, you have to park me from time to time and stop listening to me from time to time, and you need to go and be informed about the other voters. You need to listen. You need to go to these meetings. You need to arm yourself with questions. You need, first and foremost, to have an idea where you want to go. Every single candidate must know why they want to be elected. I know why I want to be elected. Mine is very clear. It's not just corruption either, to end corruption. It's about better education system. When I ran in 2000, it was the same thing. I wanted a better education system, better schools. I wanted Caymanians to own businesses, not just small businesses. I wanted them to own hotels and banks and accounting firms. Nothing much has changed since 2000. I'm still wanting Caymanians to have those things, but they need to ask the questions. Here's a simple question to ask every single candidate. Because in all the discussions that I've had about corruption, I've read stuff directly from the newspaper. This is stuff that's out in the public domain. Ask every candidate in your district if you believe in justice and what are you going to do about it. Ask them if they believe that Joey is right, that there should be an independent investigation into corruption, and that those people should go to court. Go to court, not jail, Go to court. Ask them if the judicial system should once and for all be complete and totally independent of everyone, including the governors. Ask them these questions. Ask them what are their plans to end the corruption of the elite. Ask them how are we going to deal with these work permits that are being approved that we know is causing poverty. So these are questions here. Which projects will you support? If the private sector brings a huge project on the table for any area, will you support it? Will you? And you know, it's easy for politicians to run around and say, hey, you know, I'll support everything you say. Ask them if they'll also support what I've offered the people of Northside. A recall option. If I do not accomplish these things in year 1, you can recall me. If I do, and then I go into year 2 and I don't succeed with what I've told you I'm going to give you in year 2, you can recall me. Let's see every candidate take a stand and say to their electorate, I'm willing to exercise a recall option if I don't deliver. You know what that does? That eliminates the silly debates that we have and put people to work, because now you're having to show up every day, you're having to work, you're having to negotiate and build relationships within Parliament. How can we ask our voters to go to work and produce, and if they don't, they'll be fired, but we're not willing to say, fire me if I don't produce in midterm? Okay, voters need to ask those questions.
Tough questions, but
Yes.
definitely they're worth asking.
Absolutely. I mean, as you said, we have evaluations for people
Yes.
in the workplace. So
Yes.
if we hire you to work for us, we should be able to evaluate you.
Yeah.
And if your evaluation isn't up to standard, we fire you.
That's right. You do the training first, you try and treat it, and if it consistently is low, you fire them.
Absolutely. But coming off from something that Patrice and you discussed just now, we were talking about independent candidates in this electoral process. We have a lot of people who are saying they're independent. What do you say, for example, let's say that these independent candidates, truly independent candidates, not candidates who belong to a party but are posing as independents, but true independents, that they are the ones who become elected. How do you foresee them forming a government? Because are we mature enough as a country to say, well, okay, you know, we've not been running together as a group of people. We are now the people who have been elected. How do we select our leader? How do we select the person who becomes the premier? Because there has to be a premier. And how do we decide? How do we disseminate these ministries and so on? Do you think we as a country and the politicians as a whole are mature enough to make those kind of decisions now? We know what has happened in the past.
Yes.
So
so we're pretending. What if true independents all got elected?
Yes.
18 total and absolute independents like me.
Right.
And we go to Parliament, so we haven't selected cabinet or premier yet.
Right.
Here's what I'd like to see. I would like to see us in a glass room, and I'd like to see every single medium and the members of the public standing there, listening to us, deciding how we're going to build a relationship and how we're going to move this country forward. What that does is it puts the country's eyes on us immediately. Okay? We must sit down now as ladies and gentlemen, and we must sit there and we must talk about what are the issues. Why did we run? They should know this now, right? And we table those. And we talk about how we build relationships. Then we talk about synergies. Who has relationships? Remember, prior to my issue with suspension, I was asking questions on Facebook of independent candidates and some of the others. And it was purposely done to help them try and start building a relationship. So that if you won, you already had some shared ideas, and you will be able to do that.
You know whose philosophy matches yours and
That's
so on.
right. We cannot take 18 individuals and dump them into a room and expect anything but chaos. We can't. Because it's going to get pulled apart.
So doesn't that then lend to the party perspective?
It does, but why can't independence... No, the party is a philosophy in addition, a political ideology in addition to a teamwork, right? And the party system it can work if its members, non-candidate members, did their job. Non-candidate members are supposed to drive policy in parties, not just get people elected on time. They're supposed to stand up and say, hey, what's going on with education? And they're supposed to drive those processes, okay? And force their people to go in that direction. Do we have a call? Oh, 1 minute to go to commercial? Okay. So, we need to stop. We need to be able to... I have a great relationship with Jonathan Pearson. Okay? I have a great relationship with Elio. Everybody knows I have a great relationship with McKeever Bush. But I also have a great relationship with Dwayne. I have a good relationship with Matthew Leslie. I have a good relationship with Arnold Berry. Okay? I have a good relationship with Chris Saunders. I have a good relationship with Johnny and East End. I have relationships that exist across, right? I have a relationship with young Kenneth Bryan, all right? I don't have a good relationship with many people in the PPM for obvious reasons, but I have a relationship with Kenneth Bryan. And I've reached out to him before, and I've advised first-time candidates, here's what you should be doing, and I have a good relationship. So I am not afraid. If we get to the point where we get the scenario, I'll be another step back and say, guys, country must be first. How do we go here? How do we make this work? Those relationships have to be in place. People who are handling candidates need to start doing that behind closed doors and softening it. We have a call? Oh, sorry? Oh, go on. Sorry about that. So we're going to go, okay, the call is back. We go straight to the phone lines. Hello, caller, you're on there?
Yes, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, first, good evening to you and to the ladies and with you.
Okay.
First, I want to say that I really, in listening to today's show in Rooster, I really no need for respond to such man like Izzat Miller, because this man sitting all year long, just insulting people, insulting religions, insulting, and it's wasting time responding to such person.
Yeah.
That's the first issue. The second issue is, he is attacking the ICCI. I think Roy Bowden is doing a fantastic job there.
He's at UCCI.
The University College.
Yeah.
And he need to stop insulting people and give solutions, which he never give. That's one. The other issue, a disturbing news today that a case being filed against the police commissioner and the deputy police commissioner. And how in the world this could happen in Cayman, the peaceful, nice place, that somebody hit a police officer, insult a police officer who is Jamaican.
Yeah.
Is it we are in the slave time that we just want to attack a person because he's Jamaican or he's black or he's...
Caller, if you could, I just want to grab, because I have to leave to go to this debate. If you would just leave us there, or just wrap up for me so that I can get the questions from the ladies and I can...
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. So all what we need is this, that the people need to stand against all these type of issues and to tell those people we are not in a slavery time. Right. I thank you, Mr. Joey, and thank those ladies, wonderful ladies, for the hard work they're doing.
Okay.
And they come in there and they have the courage and the guts to come there and to be in your show.
Yes. And face
because
Joey.
they're threatening everybody.
All right.
Yes,
thank you so very much, caller.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Juliet, did I answer your question?
To some degree, and yes, I accept that in terms of how you would like to see these independents get together. Yes.
Here's what we got in the past, Juliet, when we had these independents running individually, right? They were already in Parliament together. They had some relationships. But what was happening behind the scenes were they were meeting secretly. And they were actually supporting each other in their own district. So, for example, back in the day when it was the Benson era and Truman era, and even before then, we go back a little bit further, what would happen is Warren Conlon in East End would speak to a few people in Georgetown and get people he wanted elected. So they were working behind the scenes secretly, moving people in order to help each other get elected. When we transitioned to the party system, the two parties became the dominant ones. Now we have a third party. They don't call themselves a party, but they're a party. They're just a big lie, right? Because they're not a party, but they're a party. Anyway, forget about it. But the two parties, where they came together, and look, for them to split up even is normal in politics. You get people change, and ideologies change, and you pull apart, and parties shift from the center to the right and left as well. So back in the day, that worked because there was that ongoing relationship from way back. And you also have to remember that back in the day, there was less people. So people were encountering each other far more frequently, and relationships were stronger. Today, there's a bigger population. I haven't seen Dwayne in a while, But we talk to each other on Facebook, right? So you follow me? I mean, it's
The dynamics have changed.
yes, they've changed.
So do you think then that they're true independents, or do you think that even though the dynamics may have changed, do you think they're true independents, or do you think that behind the scene networking is still happening and people really genuinely belong to this group of people as opposed to truly independent?
There is and has never been in the history of politics in a true independent. Ever in the planet, anywhere, never been. Okay? Because we have affiliations. I mean, as an art, they clearly demonstrate theirs. They're not hiding it. I've said I have a relationship with Johnny and his group. I've said I have a relationship with Matthew and Dwayne and other people and Jonathan. You have to understand, I've had a long relationship in politics with Jonathan and Elio. Very long, for a long time. We used to meet, just the three of us. Okay? So, well before Elio was elected. So, those exist. Do we disagree? Sure we do. They don't agree with everything I say, and I don't agree with everything they say, but we have a relationship. And I think where it breaks down is when you get the elected members who refuse to negotiate anymore, as they wear the highway. No one can enter parliament like that, regardless of whether you're part of a party or independent. You have to know that you have to negotiate. And you have to be able to say to people, hey, you want my vote for this? Here's what I need for my constituents, right? And you're trading there. Never, ever, ever in such a way that you compromise the country on the whole.
All right, great. I want to jump in there before...
Good.
Oh, do we have a caller?
No, you're good.
Okay. I'd like to jump in there just before we have to leave. My questions are taken from your notes from Avoiding Economic Depression.
Yes.
I went through all 99 of your notes. There was no way I was coming on this show unprepared. Not for you, Joey. So I picked out about 5 or 6 of them that I thought were good, and this was one that resonated with me because I actually commented on this in 2010.
Yes, you did.
When you did.
Uh-huh.
And you talk about the mass exodus of work permits. It's almost as if you'd kind of foretold a lot of what we're experiencing now in our industry, in our employment status. And he says the greatest challenge that we face is not, in my opinion, the ability to stimulate our economy. It is overcoming the disenfranchised Caymanian.
Yes.
Are Caymanians disenfranchised, and how are they disenfranchised?
Yeah, we have a large number of people unemployed. But here's where the real work has to occur for the next parliament. We have to get people to dream again, because people have lost their dreams. We haven't rewarded them for their work and effort, so they stop dreaming. They no longer believe. If we do not get our youth to start to dream again, and we're going to have to coax some of these dreams into them and out of them. I have a young man that I got to nominate me. I mean, this kid's dream is to own a little boat with an engine and to be able to go fishing. He has a girlfriend now who's pregnant, and he just wants to be a good dad and a good man, right? He doesn't want to be involved in any issues with the law anymore, all right? He just wants that. Now, if we don't see to some of these things and open these doors and allow them to have it, we're going to further disenfranchise them. Right now, we have a chance to motivate them. They need to come, and I've said this to the young people, you need to come and help me build this political platform. Let me take on the corrupt elite. You guys help me build the social policies. The social policies have to be yours, what you want, where you want to go. If we don't go there, if we start in the middle, we're going to lose. We're going to lose our country. Not lose the election, lose our country. The thing's far, far, far worse than losing the election for me, right? We have to govern. There's only one way to govern. You govern from the least, the lowest person in your country. The one with the least opportunities, the least amount. Not the middle class, all the way to the bottom. You go to that person. You start creating policies from there, and you begin to raise everybody. Because when they go up, the middle goes up with them, and the top goes up with them. And if you govern from that perspective, that's not socialism. That's capitalism in its purest form, because what you're doing is creating a bigger customer base for business opportunities. You can't leave people impoverished. Did I answer your question?
you answered my question and then answered my follow-up question. So now I'm going to have to defer to Juliet.
Well, I just have another question for you, Joe, because you talk a lot about this reduction in the electrical cost to consumers and the solar systems and so on. But I am not quite clear on that. So at some point you have to explain it all to me. But the question that I have for you is that, you know, back in the day when we added a room onto our house and we didn't get planning permission and so on, those kind of things.
Yes.
What if, because you're aiming at the low-income families, that person decides, okay, I want to invest in this and I want to have this solar system and all this kind of thing. There's a fee, I think, what's called a service upgrade, which is like $200 and something you pay to government. How, well, the legislation now would affect any low-income person who wants to have access to this, I believe.
Yeah.
So you would obviously have to make some changes to legislation and so on. So do you foresee that as part of your mandate in terms of getting that legislation changed? Or how do you allow these low-income people to access?
Yeah. And it's not just there. I think we need to change policy. And this is not protectionism either. What we need to do is also change some of the policy and pricing structures for small businesses, period. Right? We have to allow small businesses the opportunity to penetrate the market with as little red tape as possible. So we have to we have established businesses that don't need us to help them along. They're good and they're moving forward. But small businesses need help. And a lot of it is we have to be able to move the red tape out of the way. We have to create policies and arm the civil service departments with the opportunity to be very quickly be able to approve things while making sure it's still right. And making sure there's no opportunity for corruption at the same time. Just making sure that we're getting it right. So we get the young couple who are now about to build on, they should be able to quickly get a sketch map. We don't need a set of blueprints. Okay, they need a nice drawing done by someone who knows what they're going to do. Carpenters should be licensed. The guy is going to go do it. And they have a licensed electrician. Look, these people have paid licenses. Get out of their way now. Let them finish the job. And when it's done, you go and do your inspection. Yes, tick off your little box. Yes, you're all done. All the best. Here's your red sticker. CUC can connect you now.
So what happened to the argument that someone else would make and say, well, okay, now you're making a kind of a different class system in terms of you're benefiting the lower income people who naturally may be the people who deserve it. But on the other hand, you're putting me at a disadvantage because I'm a middle income person and so on. How do you respond to that?
Well, we're actually increasing the middle income. So we're taking the lower income and pushing them up with you. And as we push them up, those policies fall away. And what will most likely happen, and if we get the solar and the renewable in, and we take that huge fuel cost away from consumers on their monthly bill, what we've just done is we've actually increased disposable income. Here's the problem that most people don't get is how our tax system in the country works. We're a consumption-based tax system. So, and it's fair. It's actually flawless. So the old people back in the day, they had this right. So I use Pepsi's, a 6-pack of soda to explain this. If I decide I'm going to drink 1 Pepsi per day, that's how much I can contribute in the tax system for that Pepsi. You might be more wealthier, and you say, I'm going to consume 6. You're consuming 6 times more, and you're also contributing 6 times more to the tax system. Now, as we move people up, if we take away that fuel cost, the fuel cost from electricity is massive economic leakage. That's money that is earned here that leaves for the fuel companies. Okay? It just goes right back out of the country. So we need to stop that and bring it back here. The governments have always argued that it's going to directly impact their revenues and cause government to have a reduced revenues. That's not true. If I reduce 50% of your fuel costs on your monthly electricity bill, you're going to spend more at A.L. Thompson. You're going to spend more at Foster's. You're going to go out at night more. All of those imports of goods, the consumption is going to go up. Government will actually see, in my opinion, a slight increase in the amount of revenue they're making from across all these other duties and tariffs on all these other products. You're going to change your car more often. You're going to have it serviced more often. The oil and the parts that go into that. Now, here's how that leakage from the fuel that leaves the island is now back in your pocket. You're spending it, and you're hitting the mechanics, the hardware stores, the supermarkets, the restaurants. All these jobs are now created, and we get the multiplier effect kicking in.
But if this is such a good idea, and it seems to be, because if you go throughout the rest of the Caribbean, you see the solar systems in place and all that kind of stuff. This is such a good idea. Why are we now having such a wide discussion on it? Why now?
Because when I became the managing director of the ERA, I became a nuisance to a lot of people, especially CUC. And because I wanted to push everything very, very, very quickly, because I knew this thing could work. Okay, so I did everything I could to make sure residents got access. And I was this close. And everything is there. The plan is there. The money is there to invest in it. The private sector is ready to pay for it. I've structured it in such a way that they get their money back, plus a little profit, and at the end of the term, the homeowner gets the solar. And they must maintain it all the way through to the homeowner own it. So, because the UK, England would not approve it in the budget for a social program, we then had to find a new way to do this. And by the way, when I became the MD, the Premier at the time, McKeever Bush, asked me how I could get some relief to the poor. And I came up with this system. He was denied the 15 million. The UK would not approve it. So I went back to the drawing board and I took some pieces of different programs and I meshed them together to create the unique Cayman program to ensure that they got it. And some very wealthy people in Canada agreed to put up the money. And they would have it installed as long as they got their money back. And CUC jumped on board and said, we love it. We'll do it too. We'll get behind this. In fact, CUC drafted, in the first contract, they drafted half of it and I finished it off. And that's in place. And there was a second contract that's now should be now finished. The ERA board itself is getting in the way of this, actually. All they need to do now is say, we're in full support, 4 megawatts. 4 megawatts gets us to touch every single house in this country. Okay? Every single house. Can you imagine? Every single person will get solar panels in. And when the company gets their money back, they have solar panels. Now, the way that it's structured is, the investor must share what they get from CUC with that homeowner. So they get money coming in that in the future they can add panels. So it's an idea that actually has a win-win-win-win-win for everybody. Now, when we get this in place on a national level, the way this plan would have been, and this plan is going to happen, one way or the other, this is going to occur, right? What we get 10 years out is we get our residents now have cheap electricity and an increase in their disposable income, meaning they're going to consume more goods here, right? They're going to have a better way of life. And we need to be prepared with that so that we can start to direct some of that cash towards making sure that kids are going to college, we're building the knowledge base and the human capital, yeah? 1 minute? Okay. Patrice, last tough question.
Last tough question. In 2010, I think was when they introduced the pension holiday, and several years later, they allowed you to actually withdraw from your pensions to use that as a down payment for home ownership. Your note says, pension fund for home ownership is a mistake.
Yes. Yes.
Why?
Well, I was totally against it.
Don't agree with you, though.
No, I actually have changed my position.
Oh, very good.
Well, let me tell you why. I was afraid that pension fund would be depleted. And so depleting, we would create additional poverty that would be, so funds would be consumed now. And when they're ready for it, it would not be there. Elia structured it completely different. And one night he and I sat down and I called him when I wrote that note. And I called him repeatedly and said, this is a mistake. You're making a big mistake. You're going to create future poverty. And one night he and I sat down and he gave me time and he said, here's how this thing is going to work. And I said, oh my, I'm wrong. I didn't see it that way. I fully support that today. You know how many young people are better off because of it? And that's what governance is about. Governance is about making people's lives better, right? And they're putting the money back in. It isn't going away and they're not spending it. They're putting it back in, right? So it's I didn't see that in his explanation. I didn't hear that. And I got fearful. And it was a great, innovative idea that I did not truly understand until he sat down with me and explained it further. And that's what relationships do. Right?
But that's also very important in terms of how politicians bring ideas to the public. Because if we don't understand it, and it's something that we're fearful of, then we're not going to support it.
Right.
So it is very important that we learn from that lesson, in that when you're bringing something new, something different, and you hear people, because sometimes politicians don't listen to what people are saying.
That's right.
They become offended when in fact the person just doesn't understand, and all they simply want is for you to share the information and explain it.
Yeah, I got that lesson one night. Yeah, Patricia,
my last question in terms of one of your other notes in which you ask a lot of tough questions, and I'd like for you to, if this is a chance for you to sort of finish out on a strong note. It says, why do we view those who are not afraid, who speak out, as angry and unusual? What are we going to do about it?
Yeah, well, what date was that note?
This was 2009.
Wow. So I kind of wrote my own demise, huh?
I don't want to think of it that way.
Well, here's some of the people I was thinking of when I wrote that. One person is Sandra Catron. And Sandra is not afraid to speak out about stuff that she doesn't like, that she doesn't believe is right. Yeah, you mightn't like the way she approached it.
She's mellowed out, you know.
Sorry?
She's mellowed a bit, right?
She has mellowed a lot.
Sandra?
She has mellowed a lot, but Sandra is an advocate, eh? She's a community and social advocate. And yet, we're so quick to kick her to the curb and say things about her. But look at what she stands for. No police harassment. She wants the law exercised, and she wants human rights. She wants protection for animals. She wants to get rid of predators who harm little children. What is wrong with that just because she's screaming it at the top of her lungs? You know why she's screaming at the top of her lungs? Because no one has taken it on and no one's listening, right? If we stop a minute and listen, and we hear her, and we start to say, we agree with you. And you know, I apologized for something I did, and I regret making that apology a few weeks ago, because as a man, there's no way I'm going to be able to leave children exposed to potential predators. And that is a real issue. Don't have to make it political, but I can't go to sleep leaving that risk there. Because we all know. We know science, everything, history teaches us that even with predators of this type, even those who have been castrated continue to prey on children. They use their hands and their fingers. It's a mental problem. So Sandra's an advocate. And you know, I listened to her, Dr. Frank McFeel, advocate, Steve McFeel, advocate, right? These are people who are saying there's something wrong here. And here I am now. I'm an advocate against some of the most powerful people in corruption. And, you know, people are saying you're either crazy or on drugs. People have begun to change now and stop saying that. And they say, oh, you're not the Joey we used to know. Could you be the old Joey? And I'm saying no. Then they're saying, well, you don't stand for any issues. And that's how I came across the notes on my Facebook page. I've answered and provided these publicly from 2009 and so on, and shared them. You know, I didn't hoard anything. I've shared them publicly for any politician to take what you want. This cannot be about me. This cannot be about any of us. It has to be about where do we take the country from here. Being statesman doesn't mean you have to be quiet. It means you have to look out for the best in the future of the country, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So I don't have any further questions right now. I don't know if Juliet has some more, or if you wanted to just sort of end.
Depends on Joey, because I know he.
Do we have the time?
Sorry. It's up to you. It's up to me, so I have to be in Northside by 6:30. It's 10 past. I'll take one more, and then we can go to then we can close out.
Well, my last is back to politics, of course, because we're in a political season. And the question is that you were once part of a party in
yes.
a sense. And we were just talking about the independents and how we can get them to, at least if they all elected to form the government. Just for clarity, you're not. What is your position on the party system now versus these group of independents or this set of independents? And is there any other political system that you think Cayman can adopt versus the...
Yeah, I've actually been a member of all three parties.
Okay.
And here's the three parties that we have in the country. We have the UDP, we have the PPM, and we have the civil service. Okay. The civil service is the most powerful party there is in this country because they can take you out, man. they can vote as a bloc, right? So I've been a member of all three of those. And I was a founding member of the UDP. And I left because I didn't agree with policy. I didn't agree with the direction. Okay? And I went and became a part of the PPM, and it happened again. You don't have to stay with something you no longer believe in. You can walk away. I'm an independent candidate today because until I can clearly see party leaders not being afraid of strong leadership around them and allowing people to speak their mind. Look, I'm not going to be affiliated with any party who is taking some donations from the DART group, for example, and saying, Joe, you can't say anything bad. That's not going to happen. Okay? I will not do that. I did that in the last election to the point where it almost drove me nuts. And I'm not doing that anymore. I have to tell the truth. I was so busy trying to get a party elected that I didn't understand that that's not what the country needs. What the country needs is good leaders. It needs strong leaders. It needs the truth. It needs people who are not afraid to say to their fellow party members, you're wrong, and say so publicly. And if you punish them, attack. Be strong enough to attack. Look, I watched two of our elected members stop speaking to each other for 18 months from the last administration with the PPM. 18 months they never spoke to each other. Do you have any idea how immature that is? Do you have any idea how much harm that caused this country? Caused massive harm. Why? Two little boys decided they wasn't going to play no more. That's really what we're talking about, right? We have to be able to agree and disagree, okay? And agree and disagree and say I'm not supporting that. And there are some rules within the party systems here, even like abortion, that is left off the table. Person chooses, some people choose to support, some people choose not to. No one is bothered by it. But we also have to be able to say, I am not supporting this in this budget, and I'm going to speak to it from the floor of Parliament. The way that it's structured is, you have caucus, which is your entire elected party group. They meet, your party chairman is part of that, and there's discussion about what's coming. Because cabinet information is secret, they cannot disclose that even to them. But what they can do is disclose the big plan. Then cabinet is held on Tuesdays. And they then make policy in there. Okay? When they get ready to go to Parliament to disclose that publicly for the first time, their backbench should be enough versed to support it. But remember, they can also stand and say, hey, you know what, guys? I still don't support this. I'm going to have to speak from the floor as to what I want to eat. What is wrong with us just saying, hey, I don't like it this way, I'll disagree with this. For some reason, we seem to think, and the media does a lot of this. The media drives a lot of bad governance by causing fear. I really don't care. I don't expect the Cayman Compass, Cayman 27 CITN, and win the ledger to ever like me. That is never going to happen. They're always going to report badly on me. So let them. So we get these politicians afraid to stand on the floor and disagree with a cabinet minister because the media is going to say they're falling apart. And that's going to cause more problems. So the media literally forces backbench members to vote for something they don't agree with.
So it comes back to the first question I asked. Are we mature enough as a people in terms of our politicians and our parliament?
As a people, we're not there yet. As party members, I think it's up to the parties and who gets elected next to bring our people up. Okay? We have to have some disagreements. Look, let me tell you something. Say what you want to say about the man, but me and McKeever Bush can disagree and argue and fight and still leave and shake hands. Okay? We can do that. He and I can do that. He and I have done that. He and I have had arguments where I've been wrong and he's been right. We've had arguments where he's been right and I've been wrong. I can do that with Kurt. Okay? I can argue with Kurt and disagree, and sometimes it's the same way, right? But the two of them can, right? I can do it with Elio as well and Jonathan. I can do it with several people. What I'm saying, when you get into the party room, here's some of the other things that get in the way. Everybody wants to be a minister. Listen, man. Actually being an MLA and getting out there on the street and being able to go door to door and rally your people, that's much better than sitting in an office for 4 years, and being a minister. You're actually making a social difference at the same time. Patrice?
Question for you. Since we have so many young independents that could possibly make it into our government, what programs would you put in place to sort of orient them into the system to help them not cause more headaches for themselves, not cause more headaches for the interaction between them and the head civil servants, and really make this process work a little better?
Yeah, well, I'm happy you asked that, because there's several orientation sessions that should occur immediately. Certainly one with how Parliament operates, standing orders, all of that, what's required, what the procedures are. But they also need to immediately have a business workshop where they understand how the country's economy works. So they need to get that very quickly so that they can understand how important the private sector is and how important it is to create policy and get it out there quickly, how to facilitate progress and speed within the economy. They need to get that. They need to also understand the hierarchy of government. What areas? They need to understand the three legs of democracy: the judiciary, parliament, and the cabinet executive, and that they must always remain separate and apart, that you can't mix them. When you mix them, that's totalitarianism, and you destroy yourself immediately. There's a lot they need to learn very quickly if they haven't read the books and if they haven't been around it,
And very quickly, they need to know that the civil servant, the senior civil servant, is actually the head of the ministry.
That's right.
As opposed to the minister.
That's right. That's right. Now, if at some point in time they want to change that to where cabinet members are taking their own staff in, that's a whole different constitutional change and legal change that has to occur. But they also need to understand that those civil servants will help you with your policy.
Absolutely.
But you have to also start communicating from there. You can't get to cabinet not knowing what policies you want to change and then ask the civil service to help you develop a why you're there and then ask them to let you lead from there. You just ask them to tell you what your why was. You don't really belong here. You need to go with your why.
Putting the cart before the horse
yes.
again. Well, final words, or do we still have some more time?
Oh, yeah, I have to go. Or Ezra sneak in and swear I didn't show up.
Okay, well, I want to thank you on behalf of my co-host and I for allowing us to grill you. We'd love to do this again. Please invite us or have some other guests. And we look forward to hearing your debate this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you both for coming. Thank you both for having me and having the tough questions. Thank you so very much. So, my producer, we're going to go. All right. Thank you all for listening. This is the Joey Ebanks Show. I'm headed up to North Side to the Chamber debate at the Civic Center. Please tune in if they're on the air or show up and show some support. And remember, we don't want violence in politics in Cayman. We can protest by wearing black. Object and protest against all forms of elite corruption just simply by wearing black to work. And we need not even say anything. We just show up dressed in black and everybody knows we're silently protesting against the corruption within our country. Thank you all for joining us. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 5. And we're going to have a chat about a whole bunch of stuff. So headed off to North Side to see if Ezra actually have the backbone to show up. Thank you all for joining us. I don't want to be the premier. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Caymanian, Jamaican, English, American, Filipino, black men, white men, yellow men, all men. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this country, there is room for all of us, and the economy is strong enough to provide for all of us. Our way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost our way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded this country with hate, has sucked us into the misery and heartache. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. A financial industry that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than a financial industry, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will become more violent, harder, and all will be lost. The web, radio, and the social media has brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in man, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Through Facebook, my words can reach millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators will die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. RCIP, don't give yourself to brutes, men who despise you and enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as fodder. Don't give yourself to these unnatural men, machine men, with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men and women. You have a love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate. Only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. Political candidates, don't fight for slavery. Fight for liberty. Fight to liberate the Caymanian people from economic despair. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke, it's written, the kingdom of God is within man. Not one man, nor a group of men, but in all men. Not Taylor, in you. You, the people, have the power. The power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. So in the name of democracy, let's use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new Cayman, a decent Cayman, that will give people a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill their promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free this country, to do away with economic barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a country of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Caymanians, in the name of democracy, let us all unite.